Hi, folks. Good evening. Anthony Cosiolo, Dean of the School of Information. We'll go ahead and get started in just a minute or two, just to allow folks a chance to come on in. Thank you. All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining us on this chilly evening here in New York. As I mentioned, I'm Anthony Cosiolo, Dean of the School of Information. I'd very much like to welcome you to Pratt. Sorry we're in such a huge room, but it tends to work pretty good with the Zoom, so we tend to use it. So tonight I'm going to go ahead and give you an overview of our school, an overview of our programs. We'll go ahead and do questions from the room. If you're on Zoom, you can also ask questions, and our Associate Director, Meredith Brohl, will go ahead and answer those, and we'll also take any questions from Zoom as well. We'll go on a brief tour of the facility, and then if you have more questions, we're happy to stick around as long as you have questions and address any questions you might have. So just a little bit about the School of Information here at Pratt. We are indeed the oldest information school in North America. We trace our roots back to 1890 when Charles Pratt, the founder of Pratt Institute, not only created Pratt Institute, but also created a series of libraries available to the public, and he needed a way to train folks to work in them, and hence the Pratt Institute Library School was born. And we've really existed ever since. We spent most of our life on the Brooklyn campus and moved here to the Manhattan Center in 2002, where we still are today. These days, we still have our library science program going hard and strong, but we also do have a lot of new programs as well, and we're very much motivated by our vision and mission, which you can see here. Our vision, and as well as our mission statement. And our mission is really one of the things that makes us unique among the information schools out there is we do really look to connect information technology with art, culture, and design. So we tend to be kind of a bit more kind of arts oriented. We're not really, super big science, big data oriented. We tend to work a lot with art, culture, design, technology. And so that plays itself out in things like classes, like class projects. We do a lot of projects with museums and a lot of work with the nearby New York City local community. In terms of who we are about 70 faculty. There's about 15 full-time faculty, and these are primarily researchers, scholars, who also act as advisors to our student body. And then we have about 50 or so part-time faculty, and these are primarily folks who are working during the day as librarians, archivists, UX professionals, researchers, data mavens, and then they come here at night and teach with us. So a lot of really fantastic folks who make up our faculty. Our students, we're an all graduate school. We have this fall, we have 397 graduate students. And yeah, and it's a it's a it's a great place. And before I get into any of the specifics of the individual programs, I did really want to mention that we are really a face-to-face program. We are We were 100% face-to-face up until COVID. And then we did, as everyone did, started doing some online stuff. But we are pretty much at this point we're 99% back face-to-face. So there might be like one or two online courses lingering around, but in general, we're a face-to-face program. And that's really because we do value face-to-face community and excellence in face-to-face teaching. And, that's, part of kind of who we are. And because of that, we're able to do lots of create a nice community, a nice feeling. So, for example, Meredith and I, our associate director, we're working on a Thanksgiving. We're not calling it Thanksgiving though. We're calling it what is it? It is called Harvest Global Harvest Potluck. So we could do stuff like that because we could actually eat together, right? Which you can't really do online. And then, so also I would say we also offer courses throughout the day. Um, and our most busy time is really 6:30 at night. So this is to help folks who might find themselves working. So you could work during the day and take classes with us at night. That is totally not a problem. But we also do have classes at 3 and at 11:30. So it's definitely a very friendly place for folks who want to come part-time, or if things get busy in your life, you can always come here at night if you'd like. But if you want to come here during the day, we also have a lot of great stuff going on during the day. So from the room, how many folks, it looks like, I bet probably most are interested in our library and information science program. All right, just about everyone. And how about you in the front? Data visualization, got it. User experience. Gotcha. I gotcha. Great. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and tell you a bit about our library and information science program first, and then we'll go ahead and move into some of the other programs. But as I mentioned, this is indeed our oldest program. It traces its roots back to 1890. And it is one of the six programs that were first accredited by the American Library Association back in 1924. So we've been accredited for the entire time for over 100 years, and which is pretty unique. And then we are, as you can imagine, this program is really about preparing folks to be librarians, archivists, and other kinds of information professionals who are out there collecting, managing, and providing access to information. This program is typically completed by students in 2 years. It's a 36 credit degree program. Typically, people will do three courses in the fall, three in the spring, then three in the fall, and three in the spring, and then they're done. There's generally not a ton of people tend to do a lot of maybe interning but not a ton of coursework over the summer. Um, the this program will folks will do a core curriculum that's required of all librarians and archivists, getting into reference and knowledge organization, technology. And then from there, there's a huge range of electives you can take. To help folks in this program plan out their electives, we do offer these advanced certificate programs that live within the 36 credit degree. And they kind of act like a minor, but they help kind of focus your attention. I'd say one of our most popular is our archive certificate, which is an 18 credit certificate that lives within the 36 credit library science degree. We also do have a great program in children and young adult library services, as well as some additional certificates you see here, such as in digital humanities and UX. These programs do have required courses that you have to take and courses you have to satisfy. But we do also offer program concentrations, which are a little bit more informal. They're just kind of there to help you plan out what you want to do and courses you want to take. So you can either take kind of a formal path, or you can even take a less formal path where you're just kind of taking what you think makes sense for what you want to do. We do also offer a 3-year dual degree program with a history of art and design program, which is primarily based on the Brooklyn campus of Pratt. It's a 60 credit degree. And this is really going to be for folks who are super wanting to get focused in on kind of art history and become an art librarian and become super specialists in that area. In terms of this degree, what you'll become, this is just a small smattering of job titles we've seen from our graduates, but generally folks go off and become as you can imagine, archivist, librarian, we see it's just different job titles pop up at different times. Um, I would say in terms of where people work, we generally see a lot of museums, colleges, public libraries, some publishing. Um, we see sometimes companies, artist studios, nonprofits. So generally a lot of folks working in the kind of what I'd call like the kind of the nonprofit public sector, higher education. In terms of this program, when we survey our students when they graduate, and in 2015 we had 57 graduates, and they had generally nice things to say about the program. So 94% of the graduates believe the MSLS program was a quality program that prepared them to work in their profession. So that's really great to see. Um, so yeah, that's the quick rundown on our LIS program. I know we have some interest in our data program, so I'll go ahead and tell you a bit about that. And you probably have some folks online who are interested in this one as well. So this one is where I would say the LIS program is really about managing information, collecting it, managing, providing access to it, helping a community with the information needs they have. This program is really going to be more about actually using information. So really working to create researchers, analysts, map makers, visualizers, who work with data from all across its life cycle. You don't need to have a design background, you don't need to have a technology background. And this is really a very kind of interdisciplinary program where it's taking statistics, computer programming, design, usability, research. The program is typically completed in 2 years as well. Three courses in the fall, three in the spring, three in the fall, and three in the spring. And people in this program will get straight into things like data analysis, which is less statistics, InfoViz, computer programming using Python, all kinds of information visualizations. And then we do have folks have to do at least one course in these additional areas in data analysis, data visualization, data UX. And then there's quite a lot of electives that you can take 15 credits in the School of Information or really any other graduate program at Pratt. I would say this program it does have some certificates you can do as well. These are 12 credit certificates that live within the 36 credit degree. And I'd say one of the particularly strong areas we have is in the area of mapping and analysis and geospatial information. And this is a great area we have, I would say, is in this program. And but you can also do courses in user experience, so kind of bridging the gap between data analysis and user experience, and then digital humanities as well. This is one of our smaller programs. It did have 12 graduates this past May. And in general, our graduating student body is really happy with the program in terms of the quality, the curriculum being up to date, as well as willing to recommend it to a family member or friend. So we're super, super glad to see that. In terms of job placement in this program, these are the kinds of job titles we see, like data visualization associate, data visualization designer, things like that. And then we see kind of more of a mix of organizations, both kind of in the commercial sector as well as the nonprofit governmental. So, you'll have people working at the Intrepid Museum and also working at Google. So it's kind of a more of a mix. All right, that's the quick rundown on that program. Now, happy to tell you a little bit about our information experience design program, which is our UX program, and it is really it's really about creating well-rounded UX professionals who are out there designing user interfaces, whatever interface that might come in. That could be a graphic user interface, that could be a web interface, it could be a mobile interface, it could be a voice interface, like the user and the speaking to a computer over using their voice. Um, and this is a program that's designed you don't have to have any kind of computer background. You don't need to have a design background. And it's you can come to this program. We take people from all backgrounds. And it is, I will say it's definitely it's quite a bit different from those kind of we've seen a lot of boot camps pop up over the last few years. which, become a UX designer in 3 weeks or whatever. This I would say is not that. I mean, this is an intensive graduate program like the other two I mentioned, is a 2-year program. And really one of the outcomes you'll get out of this program is kind of a really strong portfolio, which is going to serve you well on the job market, and a unique portfolio as well, not kind of a cookie cutter one, which you see a lot with those kind of boot camps that are out there. And definitely in this program, you'll learn all the knowledge and skills you need to be a UX designer, but you will also engage in all sorts of creative, critical, and ethical challenges, as all our graduate programs offer. Um, this program is typically also completed in 2 years, pretty similar structure, 36 credits, 3 courses in the fall, 3 in the spring, 3 in the fall, 3 in the spring, and you're done. I would say in general, people do quite a bit of interning in this program, especially their first summer and then their whole second year in the program. And you'll do in this program, you'll get straight into information architecture, interaction design, usability theory, information technology. We do require an ethics and social responsibility elective, as that is an area that has become quite an important issue here with the New York City technology community and kind of what that looks like and making sure our students are ready to address those issues. And then there's a wide range of electives you can take in this program, and we're always creating new ones. Um, so let me think of some of the newer ones that are kind of fun. I would say, I mean, they're all kind of fun, I would say, but I would say like we have a new one that's been kind of popular called service design. And really what that course does is it's like, it's instead of just developing a user interface, a GUI, like on a computer screen, you're thinking a bit more holistic about how that computer screen interacts with other parts of a service. So maybe the built environment, the design space, and how, you think about you go into a place like CityMD, right? There's a counter, there's a computer, you got to check in, right? So it's like, how do you conceptualize that whole process? How does your mobile phone work in with that? So, thinking of that much more complex ecology than just a computer screen, thinking about that total user experience. But then, we have, courses on UX for AR, augmented reality, virtual reality. Um, we have some that are kind of niche, I would say, like animals and experience design. So this is really thinking about what is the experience of how do we use our computer technologies to support our ecological environment? So like how can we use things like sensors to help animals traverse a landscape, for example? So it's a little niche, but it's definitely an area we've been growing in, especially of sustainable interaction design, trying to bring some of that to bring our kind of an ecological sustainability perspective to the world of UX design. In terms of this program, we do have two kind of focuses you can do. So in this program, you'll do both design and you will do research and evaluation. But I will say that, as people go through the program, we tend to find that students are better at one than the other. And we support that and we support specialization. So some folks are going to be realize through their course of the program, they're actually, in fact, a better designer than they are a researcher, and we support that. Or some people are going to realize that they're, much more happy and their strength really is doing research and evaluation. So that's, talking to users to inform design improvements. So, getting job titles like UX researcher, usability and analyst, etc. So definitely we have different areas of study and we support that. The in terms of we have a lot of folks in this program interning, especially as I mentioned in that first summer and that second year, and a lot of folks in this program do work at startups and commercial enterprises, some big tech, some startups. In terms of job titles, we do see job titles like the ones you see here, like UX design lead, for example. And then some of the employers we see are some of these companies here. And I will say that, we definitely see we see quite a bit we see big tech, we see financial services, which is a major industry here in New York. And then yeah, just a pretty, but definitely much more in the commercial sector, I would say. compared to the other programs. Um, so this past May, we had 67 graduates, and pretty much all of them are pretty happy with the program. 95% of graduates agree the program was a quality program, and 94% found the curriculum to be up to date. So, you're talking, the vast majority of graduates of our program are pretty satisfied with the choice they made. The fourth and final program I'll tell you a little bit about is our Museums and Digital Culture program. This is our super special museum studies program, which really has a kind of it's kind of a museum studies program with a bit of a techie bent, I would say, that focusing on digital technology and digital information. This program is like the other ones, is also typically completed in 2 years. And in this program, students will get into things really right out the get-go, things like museum information management, such as work cataloging cultural objects, museum digital strategy. I was just right before I came here, I was emailing the company Gallery Systems, which creates the product TMS, which is used by pretty much every major museum to organize their collection, to schedule we do an annual training for our students where you come and you learn TMS. And so this year we've been doing it online the last 5 or 6 years because of COVID, but this year we're like, hey, like it's kind of hard to sit and do TMS all day. Can you do it in person? So they're going to come in person and do it this year. So we're happy about that. But um, also in this program, there's a wide range of electives you can do after you finish the required courses. So courses in museum information management, digital tools and technology, audience experience, and community engagement. So for example, like in Info 693, that course students will do an audience study. They will, in collaboration with the museum, they'll talk to users at a museum, to visitors. And also in this program, we do have a set of courses you can take outside of the School of Information in both the area of curatorial studies and museum education, if that's an area of interest to you. So these are graduate courses kind of outside the School of Information, primarily on the Brooklyn campus, that you can take. So getting into museum education, looking at art history dimensions. So those are all options. We also do have some certificates you can do within this program, such as in conservation, digital curation, UX, and digital humanities. I would say this program, definitely we do a lot of museum projects. So if you're interested in working with museums, like that happens throughout the program, like any of our programs, you'll see plenty of museum projects, but this is just a small smattering of some of the institutions we work with. And in terms of graduates, these are the kinds of graduates opportunities we're seeing graduates get, with job titles that I think make a lot of sense. Things like digital cataloging assistant, registrar, collection information specialist, collection database assistant at both museums here in New York as well as ones that are quite far off. So like such as the Crystal Bridges Museum in Arkansas. In terms of feedback from students, this is a small program. We have 6 graduates this past May, and in general, they're very satisfied with the program. 100% agree that the faculty are effective teachers, and 100% agree that the school created an inclusive and welcoming environment. So we're definitely happy to see that. We also do have some standalone advanced certificates. These are certificates that you would do just on your own without in the context of a degree. These are either 18 credits or in some cases 12 credits. Did anyone come to hear about any of these? If you want me to talk about any of these, someone online. Is that on the list? Got it. Yeah, conservation digital curation. Yeah, so that's a 12 credit certificate. I don't have any slides about it here, but um, I can just pull up the graduate catalog with the requirements. And Yeah, so in this program, it's a short program, 12 credits, and you'll do our class in conservation and preservation. It's taught by a conservator at Columbia's University Libraries. And it's going to get into things like conservation of paper, like library and archival materials, really. So if you want to do like art conservation, like paintings and sculpture, I would say this would not be a great program for you. But if you're interested in like paper-based kinds of stuff, library and archival materials, this would be a good program. It does require a course that's in kind of the digital area, such as Info 6, this digital preservation and curation course, or projects in digital archives. These are both kind of some of our more techy courses. And then you can take two courses from this list, which include, some interesting, unique courses. For example, like Conservation Lab is a course we've been offering for a good number of years. And what it does, it's a lab and you do you create kind of custom enclosures for rare books, manuscripts, kind of physically, like with, razors and paper and mylar and all that kind of stuff. So if that's kind of, it's kind of old school, like physical materials. So if that's, if that's kind of some of your interests, we definitely have that kind of stuff going on here. And yeah, cool. So yes. So interestingly, so for the archive certificate, we're pretty specific with that one. You do need to have a Master of Science in Library and Information Science from an ALA accredited program. So I would say most people who do this certificate do it within the context of their 36 credit degree. Although we have a small smattering of folks who will come, it's like people who graduated 10 years ago and they're like, I really wanted to do archives, but I got kind of sucked into public library work and now I want to kind of, or my school didn't have it, but that's really, so that kind of, well, we do see some of that. But yeah, so I would say the spatial analysis and design certificate, we only require a bachelor's degree, but some of these other ones, I would say that we do require a master's degree already. So this is going to be useful. Most of these are going to be useful for folks who already have a master's degree. But yeah, we basically really, if you want to become, say, an archivist, for example, we say, yeah, like you kind of have to do you kind of have to do the certificate in a context of a like a library and information science degree. Cool. All right, so zooming out again, just talking about some big picture stuff. So scholarships. I will say we do have pretty significant scholarships. They do cover up to 50% of the cost of tuition, and they automatically renew for your second year. So, for example, say you get a $10,000 scholarship in year one, you automatically get it in year two. So that's great. So you kind of have a real sense of what the kind of what the scholarship situation is upon coming in and before you commit. And I will say, definitely, you find out there's no separate applications for scholarships. Like you apply to the program, you're automatically considered, and you find out what the scholarship is when you are admitted in that admission letter. And yeah, we also do have this pretty interesting fellowship program, and these are kind of like paid internships, I would say. And how they work is that we set up a project for you to work on for 9 months, and you receive a 9 month fellowship, and it works out to about 1 day a week. And you work on a project with a New York City institution, and you're paid through Pratt as a scholarship. And this year we did 19 fellowships, and some of these have multiple fellows. So, but a lot of just a whole different range of different organizations. So a bunch going on at the Museum of Modern Art. So either working in the library, working on the product design, working on archives. We have a bunch going on with the Metropolitan Museum and the data analysis, digital product design. We have stuff going on with the Frick. the Lesbian History Archives. We've tried to branch into some community archives, some smaller institutions. We have stuff going on at the Brooklyn Public Library, both at the Center for Brooklyn History as well as the working with the young adult section at Grand Army Plaza. So yeah, lots of good stuff. We were able to re-kick a fellowship this year with the Whitney Museum in the area of digital assets and preservation, which we're super excited about. We have work going on with the Museum of the City of New York uptown, as well as the Hauser and Wirth Institute archives. We do also offer federal financial aid, which is typically in the form of loans. And you can, if you have any questions about financial aid, you can certainly reach out to our student financial services counselor. Her name's Sonia Chestnut, and she works from this building on the seventh floor. Yeah, so as I think I mentioned, we all of our classes are offered here at the Manhattan building here on 14th Street, which is super convenient location to everything in New York. But then if you also, though, as a Pratt student, you do have access to the full resources of the Brooklyn campus, which is a bit more of a kind of a typical college environment with like a, kind of a, with pathways and, standalone buildings and a gym and a, freestanding library, all that kind of stuff. So, so you can either use that or not use it. You don't have to. If some people who live in Brooklyn might find it useful. But if you don't, you might not ever really step foot there. So, in terms of application deadlines, definitely we are now recruiting our fall 2026 class. Those classes are going to start August 24th, 2026. The priority deadline is January 5th. So when your application would be due. So we call it the priority deadline because often we don't close the application right on January 5th. But it is kind of for your best consideration for scholarships. January 5th is going to be the best day to apply. I will say, for some of our programs, the application does close fairly quickly. So some years the IXD program closes in January or February. And some of the other programs might stay open quite a bit longer until the class is full, and then we close the program. But yeah, the application can really close anytime after January 5th. So if you're interested, I would definitely say apply by January 5th. In terms of applying, it's pretty straightforward. Pratt.edu/apply. You do need two letters of reference, a statement of intent. This is going to be where you tell us about how this program is addressing your career goals and what you want to do with your career and what your interests are. And then unofficial transcripts from all colleges you attended. So really, what this means is kind of a PDF from your college's kind of student system. That's fine. And then if you decide to actually enroll, we do need official transcripts. But for just the application stage, you do not need official transcripts. Um, and then, of course, we don't require the GRE. We've never required the GRE. So that is really my like quick rundown on the School of Information and our various programs. But at this point, I'm happy to go ahead and take questions from the room. And I'm going to pass the mic too, because I think so folks on Zoom can hear. So let me grab your mic, Meredith. All right, folks. Does anyone have a question? Yes.
Thank you so much, Anthony. For context, I've been admitted. I'm kind of going backwards, going to the info session after the fact, but I one of the reasons why I was really interested was the fellowship program, and the perceived strong relationships between Pratt and other institutions in New York City. I'm interested in public librarianship, so obviously the Brooklyn Public Library Fellowship is really interesting. I'll be on the January cycle, so I guess it's kind of a two-part question. First, what does that look like for the fellowship? If it's after your first year, can you start the fellowship in January of your second year? Um, And are there any other ways that faculty and administration support student employment for students who are trying to get their foot in the door of a New York City institution, for example, New York Public Library, Queens Public Library, and trying to get like hands-on experience and obviously a salary while taking classes full time? I guess, yeah. How can or are faculty able to support that endeavor? Thank you.
Good question. So let's start at the top. So if you come, okay, so you're would start in January. So the fellowships, we start opening applications in around March, April. And as a brand new student, you can certainly apply for sure, and you get full consideration. I would say that that fellowship with the Brooklyn Public Library is honestly not that competitive. I mean, you might be competing against like maybe two or three other people. So it's not, it's not like, you're not competing against 80 people. It's like, it's they're, pretty not, they're not impossible to get. So yeah, I would say that. But yeah, so you can definitely apply in March or April for those, no problem. So the second question was around support for um, careers and hands-on work. I would say a lot of our courses tend to be really kind of hands-on, I would say, and we do a lot of engagement with New York City institutions just in the coursework itself. So for example, like I just left my class, it just got out at 5:50, and we've been working for, I have to say, really, I've been working with them since probably about 2010. So it's been 15 years with like the Lesbian History Archives, and we're doing a lot of we're restoring radio programs from them, documenting women's history and really a lot of radical feminist radio and different kinds of programs. And so in this course, for example, you know, we, we visit the History Archive, but then, we take material from them here, we bring it here to Manhattan, we work with it here, we have all the equipment, we do reformatting, we do metadata, we do digital interface design, um, we do photograph media, we design the look and the feel. And so, at the end of the day, like it's probably one of probably one of the largest audiovisual archives of the LGBT community, like possibly in the country. So, and that's just a student project, right? It's always been a student project. So I'd say we do have like quite a bit of just kind of really pretty practical applied stuff that goes on. So it's not generally, I would say it's, we try to make it very relevant for your career. So sometimes I would say it's like really super applied. So I'll give you an idea. Like in our class, academic libraries and scholarly communications, one of the assignments is you do a job talk. So, kind of pretending, oh, not pretend, I mean, you're kind of, you're applying for a job at Cornell and you're giving your job talk. So that's just in the class, right? So your instructor is giving you feedback, your fellow students are giving you feedback. So it's definitely not up in the clouds. It's really something that, you're going to do and it's going to help you pretty directly on the job market. Um, but I would say, yeah, I mean, I'd say in the courses, things are going to be really pretty useful. I would say in general, for us, and Meredith always says this, for us, success is like, you're thinking about your career day one. So you're not kind of coming out of this program being like, oh, wait, I just graduated. What, you're pretty much, for us, success is really you is not you just graduate, but you graduate and like you get set up for the career that you want to be in. And you're that for us a success. We're like, oh, you got that job at Cornell you wanted. Congratulations. Like we're much more happy to hear that than we are, oh, you graduated. We're like, okay, well, you know, great. But for us, that's really what we like to see. So you're just going to find that threaded throughout the program by in courses, interacting with people, various programs we do. So yeah, I would say it's just kind of it's like part of our DNA is like is yeah like we want to see you get the job, maybe not the job of your dreams, but the job that's going to help you get to your job of your dreams, right? Maybe most of our, first jobs out of graduate school are not the job of our dreams, but we want most people to come away and be like, yeah, I see why this makes sense for me right now in my life. This is going to get me where I want to go. So yeah, I think, I would say it's just it's just going to be very omnipresent to, yeah. Other questions? Yes.
Just a question about if one would want to maybe pursue multiple advanced certificates within one program, like the MSLAS program, like you're interested in the archives, but also digital curation and conservation. Would that be feasible? Is that something students take on?
Yeah, so it is in some cases possible to do two certificates, but I would say that the the archive certificate it's kind of a subcomponent of it is the conservation and digital curation certificate. So those two you can in fact do together because they're it's basically archive certificate. It's kind of on top of the conservation digital curation. So sometimes, we'll see people do like the digital humanities certificate with one of the other ones. But yeah, you can do it. You just have to be really careful because you don't have that much wiggle room if you do two certificates. But if you do one, it's a bit more. You're not quite constrained. But yeah, just to give you an idea, like if in a 36 credit 36 credit degree, if you're doing 24 credits of advanced certificates, your core curriculum is 12 credits. Basically, you don't have one class that can't be on a list. So it can be a little bit of a challenge. Other questions? Yes, I see two hands back here.
Um, would you say that like it's more common for people to come in with like a pretty good idea of what direction they would like to go in, like whether that be more public librarianship or archives or et cetera? Or are there also like a good number of people who figure that out as they're doing their coursework? And is yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's going to vary quite a bit. I would say some people show up and they think they know what they want to do, but then their idea changes, and that's really okay. I think for us, what we like to see is, your first year, it's great. If you want to play the field a little bit, that's okay. Well, especially as you get into your first summer and your second year, we do really want to see a bit more of that. Okay, I know where I'm going. I'm going into academic libraries. That's where I'm going to be making sure I develop all my knowledge and skills. And I'm going to, that's the job market I'm going to hit. And, you know, but coming in, you don't really need to know that. I would say, sometimes folks change their minds. Like, for example, I had a student one year who was in my class and she's like, it was the third week of your class. And I realized, what? I do not want to be an archivist. And, I think she dropped. I think she literally dropped the class, and and she went on to become a very successful public librarian working at the Brooklyn Public Library. She's like, I like working with kids, and she so it was great. And that's okay. I mean, knowing what you don't want to do is actually just as valuable as knowing what you do want to do. I think about myself when I was in graduate school. I took a course at the Columbia Business School, and I was like, I'm like, and I realized, wait, hold on, I don't really want to do business. I don't, I don't, I don't want to do this. And but that's good. It's like you look down the path. You knew, like you looked at it, you explored it, and you're like, yeah, I don't want to do that. And that's great because then you explored it, you closed the door on it. That's fine. Um, so yeah, we definitely doing that a lot of that your first year, great because it's going to help you narrow in on where you want to be. Right. We had another question.
Thank you. I was curious about the letters of recommendation, if you have a preference for academic uh, recommendations specifically, like professors, or if professional references are also of interest or yeah. And also one more question is what do you think makes Pratt stand out compared to other library science programs in the New York area?
Yeah, so let's see here. So the first question was about I already blanked. Oh, it was recommendations. So yeah, I would say we take recommendations from all walks of life. For some people, a professor is going to be easy, but then we also sometimes we have older students who are like, I went to college 15 years ago. I don't remember. A lot of my college professors have retired. So and that's okay. You can use, professional references. Folks you've worked with, bosses. That's all fine. As long as it's not a close family member or close family friend, that's going to be fine. You really, someone who could speak to your work, whether that's a college professor, an employer, um, yeah, it's going to be completely fine. In terms of what makes Pratt stand out within the other library and information science programs in the New York region, I would say, and I can go through the list in the New York region. So, I mean, we're definitely the oldest in the New York region, and the other ones I would say, we have Rutgers in New Jersey, which is not quite New York. uh, we have Long Island University. They are based in Long Island, although they do have a campus and they do have a, a program they run from the NYU campus. I would say though, most of their faculty are not really there. I mean, they might come into town to teach there, but they're LIU. It's kind of you know, uh, they're kind of borrowing space from NYU. I'll be quite honest, and I think I mean, we own this building. We're not sharing this. We don't have to. We don't. It's all Pratt students, the whole building and the whole campus. So I think, that's, something that, I've kind of heard, kind of issues with. Um, who else is there? St. John is an entirely online program now. They're a Queens-based university, but they are entirely online. So that's one of the things that makes us quite a bit different is we're at 100% in person. So, a lot of, that program is completely online. What else do we have? We have Queens College. So what Queens College has going for them is they have the very affordable CUNY tuition, which I will give them. They definitely do have. Um, but I will say though, some of the things some of the challenges with Queens College is it's in Queens, which is it's pretty much you take the last train, the 7 train to a bus, I believe. It's unless you live out there, unless you have a car, it could be pretty hard. But also, what the big difference is as a public university, they're going to have really large class size. Their LIS program is much bigger in terms of total students. They have over 300 students. Our LIS programs probably more like 150. But I will say our average class size is between 11 and 12 students, where you might go into a class at Queens College and you're, one of 25. Um, and I would, that's the other thing you kind of end up with Queens College, which is something I see more on the faculty side is, as a private university, I would say, our faculty they get great professional development, right? So they are out there presenting at conferences all over the world. We had several faculty go to Croatia. We had, faculty just come back from a national conference here in the States. Queens College, I remember the joke was you can go anywhere that your MetroCard could take you. So, I mean, it's, and so it can be, that's, so that's just a difference, though. I mean, we have faculty going to all over the world to present their research and learn from other people. And, it's kind of the sad reality of kind of the difference between um, private versus public, quite honestly. So we end up having, we're better resourced. So, that it's yeah, that's the main difference, I would say. Um, I think I got all of them. I don't think I forgot. Syracuse. Well, so a lot of Syracuse is, well, it's in Syracuse, but it's also very online. So a lot of people who do Syracuse are doing it online. They have, um, so I mean, if you want to go to an online school, sure. But also, I'm like, if you're going to go to an online school, I would say I'd probably go to one that was more affordable, quite honestly. Like, I'd probably go to San Jose State just because it's, if you're going to go online, you know, um, then I would just choose something less expensive. But, if you wanted to be, if you want to live and work and study in New York City, and have all this city has to offer, I think this is a great place. But, if you want to, you know, go move up to Utica or what is it? Syracuse, sorry. If you want to move to Syracuse or you want to do it online, great. But it's just, I just think it's a pretty, it's a pretty great experience. Not, you don't have to live in New York City your whole life, right? You don't, I mean, I've clocking 25 years here, but it's just a great life experience to, to do it, I would say, so. Anyway, so yeah, I think that's the most I've ever trashed the other LIS schools. We generally don't talk about each other like that, but I was like, I'll give you the lowdown. I'm feeling frisky today. Um, all right. So, any other questions that we might have? Yes.
I think I saw somewhere online that you guys may accept credits from undergrad, but within like 5 years. Is that right? Do I have that correct? Or maybe I'm thinking about a different program. So in general, like if you, like I, for example, graduated with a visual arts and digital humanities degree in undergrad. We did some coding statistics and stuff like that. So if there are some foundational courses that cover those topics, is there an option to like test out or to,
Yes.
but it's been 5 years,
Yes.
so I understand.
Yes. Yes, there are for both statistics and our information technology course, you can kind of test out of them. We do have a procedure for that. But then also, if you're like, wait, hold on, this I'm a little shaky on this. If you're feeling shaky, then it's probably best to just take the course.
Got it.
Yeah. Question here.
Thank you. I was wondering if you have people in this program that are coming from established careers and there's any, if there is ever consideration for professional experience in terms of credit?
Yeah, good question. So I would say as a field, we definitely do take have students from kind of all career stages. I would say, the our average student here is I want to say in the LIS program is probably about 28 or 29 years old. But and we do have some folks who come right out of undergrad, but we do sometimes people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. Not in huge numbers, but we do have them. And I would say that career-wise, yes, we've had people switching careers. We've seen a lot of people in the last decade, I would say, coming from publishing, because there was a lot of changeover there, I would say. Um, but yeah, we definitely seen, yeah, we definitely support folks from, all stages of careers. We don't, but unfortunately, we don't have anything around like credits for like work experience or anything like that. It's yeah, we just don't have that. Yes.
One more. I was wondering if specifically kind of public librarianship concentration students ever take language classes. For example, Spanish is great in New York City. Um, and mine could use some work. So if there's a possibility for students to either audit or actually enroll in language classes, maybe on the Brooklyn campus, or if they're offered here, um, if that's an option, and if students feel that it's actually a possibility within the full course load.
Yeah, so we do have language classes at Pratt on the Brooklyn campus. Although I have to say, I think they're generally undergraduate courses. And so pretty much in the graduate program, you have to take all graduate classes, which are usually at the 600 level or, but I would say quite honestly, like, you might, it's probably like more affordable, quite honestly, to just take it at like a language school, like Spanish. Like I live in Cobble Hill and I see every night these over near Court Street, like Idlewild, or is it, I don't know, there's like a language school right there, and there's like a little Idlewild, right? And they're working on Portuguese or Italian or I honestly I would probably something like that is probably gonna be it looks pretty good to me, quite honestly. So yeah, I would honestly like save your money and just go to like a language school. Um, yeah, yeah. Other questions? Yeah, yeah.
So digital humanities is kind of like an umbrella term, and I'm wondering, my experience with it has been mostly within the English department and like kind of rhetorical analysis and like linguistic kind of um, applications of digital humanities. What does Pratt focus on, or is it kind of a range of approaches?
Um, yeah, so I would say our digital humanities program, where a lot of people who do it do tend to come from our library and information science program. And so what they do with it is they are really going out and becoming digital humanities librarians, and they're really working, developing that knowledge and skills so they can serve, help researchers with digital humanities projects, whether that's students or faculty. I would say for the data program, which I know you're interested in, we actually haven't really had many students do it, quite honestly, in the data program, do the DH certificate, although it's been an option for a while. I would say because really, digital humanities is something that it lives in, it's kind of academic, right? It lives in academia, humanities lives in academia. Um, so in that program, what you do is you develop a lot of technical skills, like you do stuff in information visualization, you do some computer programming, um, and but honestly, I'll say, it's really for a lot of folks what they'll do is there's also an advanced project course that people take, and often they'll work on a group project and it'll come up with kind of like a big project, like kind of something that pulls in the experience of multiple people on the team to come up with something pretty significant. And so, what we've seen in this DH certificate is that it's like some of our best students do the DH certificate and they go off and get like incredible jobs. But it's pretty much the people who do it are a lot of our librarian folks. So, I'm thinking at, folks who've gone off and worked at, Cornell or NYU after graduating, really great jobs there, tenure track librarian jobs. But I would say, yeah, we'd love to see a data person do it, though. We really would. It just hasn't, I don't think it's happened yet. So you could be the one. You could be the first one. And we have some great DH people at Pratt. Professor Ben Zweig, Professor Felipe Collado, Professor John Decker, Professor Chris Sula, like really great stuff. People who've written the book on this field, quite literally, and so it's definitely a great place to get some work done in digital humanities for sure. Cool. Other questions? Does anyone have any questions from Zoom or any questions on Zoom? I see Meredith typing away, that we might want to talk about or anything?
I don't think there's anything. Let me see. Well, Anthony, do you want to open up and go to the Q&A and then look at the answered questions? So this the Q&A.
This would require I know how to use the Q&A.
I think you just go to like the extra, like more options, and then Q&A. and then go to answer.
Oh, look at
And
that.
then you can see if there's anything that you feel like is a good question or if anyone can read and wants to talk more about something.
Yeah.
I
So
haven't looked at the chat actually, so maybe you can look there.
So I did get a private message about AI in the IXT program. I will say it's definitely we do have a class offered right now. It's called UX Design for AI. And it's being taught by Professor Pamela Pavlicek, and it seems to be going really well. We do expect to have more classes in AI as the years go by. We've had a long time course in the area of machine learning. It's been taught by someone who does machine learning at Amazon. And so, yeah, definitely, we expect to create more AI kinds of stuff. Our, yeah, it's definitely, you know, always on our mind and our approach to AI is definitely, we feel that, people need to become familiar with it and know what it can do and what it can't do. And, be willing to really become really super users of AI, quite honestly. So let's see here. What else do we have? We have Lucia wants to learn more about archives and the financial aid. So yeah, so financial aid, Lucia, here's Sonia Chestnut. She's our financial aid counselor. You can also email sfs@pratt.edu. That's student financial services at pratt.edu. But yeah, so Lucia also wanted to learn more about archives. I will say, yeah, so our archive certificate's an 18 credit certificate, and it really does prepare folks to become archivists. It's aligned with the Society of American Archivists guidelines for graduate programs in archival studies, and it has a bit of it teaches both the theory and practice, like in the classroom. So we learn the theory, but then we also do things like we like make a finding aid. We process a collection here in the building in class. So it's a bit of it's both kind of both theory and practice, and it's done in 18 credits, and it's definitely one of the things we're really known for. We have some really great faculty in that area. Um, Professors like Professor Kathy Carbone, um, and professors like myself. I hope, I hope. Let's see here. Yes.
In terms of the 18 credits, if you are taking a 36 credit program,
Yeah.
can you take those 18 credits within the 36?
Yes. So the question was, can you take the 18 credit program within the 36? Yes, absolutely. So you have a 12 credit core curriculum. You have the 18 credit archive certificate. So that leaves six units that you can kind of do whatever you please with. So yeah, definitely. That's how most people do it here is they do the certificate within the degree.
Anthony, I have
Yep.
one in the Q&A for you.
Yep. Go for it.
It says, is there one type of librarianship, public museum, archive, etc., that a majority of MSLAS students are interested in pursuing or interest pretty evenly distributed?
Well, it would make our life really easy if it was evenly distributed, but unfortunately, it's not. I would say we have a lot of people interested in archives. I would say, I would say like 70% of the students in the LIS program are interested in archives. Then I would say maybe about 15 or 20% are interested in kind of the youth public library area. Um, and then, within the archives, people who are interested in working in academic libraries. You'll definitely, there's definitely a lot of folks interested in the archives area here for sure. And we have a lot of great classes in that area. Um, but, our youth program we have less students and, the courses are enrolled much less. Like you might be in classes with 5 or 6 people, but yeah, but it's still a great place to learn to work with youth and yeah, so it's pretty great.
I have another one.
Yep.
So this is from Rebecca. Would it be possible for Anthony to answer the same question as to what makes Pratt stand out for the IXD program?
Oh, interesting question. What makes it stand out? Well, I would say it is, so the IXT program was born really out of our library and information science program. So we've actually been doing UX design and UX research here at this school since about 2005. And but the IXT program wasn't formally created until 2016. So we had a lot of folks in our library science program working towards becoming UX designers. And you might say, like, well, that's strange. Why is that? The one thing you'll have to think about is, kind of, back in the day, we're talking, the late 90s and the early 2000s, libraries were really the place where the general public really first interacted with computers. So they were one of the first organizations that were putting a computer terminal out to just the general public, asking them to look up stuff in a catalog or, find journal articles. Most people had not didn't really use a computer very much before that. So you had a lot of work going on to figure out how do, librarians really figuring out how do we make this easier for people? How do we make this work? How do we communicate this better? How do we teach about this? And so you had basically kind of a lot of the early work in the UX field was happening in libraries because it was really about introducing computers to people. And so that's really where we come from. I would say we come from that world. And so these days we're very much focused on users. The IXC program is, a lot of commercial applications, but really it came from that world. So, Pratt, I would say, is an institution that was really well known for art and design. And so, for example, our graduate communications design program based on the Brooklyn campus is born out of advertising. So graphic design, advertising. But, I would say our IXD program is really born out of, that kind of really kind of the development of the computer industry and bringing computers to people. And so it just has a slightly that's kind of what one of the things I think that makes it pretty unique. I mean, it's not the only program like that, but a lot of information schools, iSchools, have programs that came out of library and information science. I would say other things that make us unique are we're based here in New York City. We're all in person. We draw both a domestic and global crowd of people into the program. So it's a pretty exciting, lively, cosmopolitan environment. Um, we do a lot with the local community and New York City in general, institutions and organizations. So, I think that, it's kind of just, it's a lot more lively than a lot of places, quite honestly. A lot of universities are kind of like, what we might call like a land grant university. It's like, oh, great university, but it's like, out in the middle of nowhere. you know, or the university is so big that like everything is about what's going on in the university. For us here at Pratt, we're just like, we're in a building here in the middle of Manhattan. So like for us, we're doing projects like with New York. Like we're doing it with the various organizations right out the door, which are not, it's like we're doing stuff with the Whitney. We're doing, those are our neighbors, and that's who we're kind of working with. Um, so I would say that, that our community, I would say, is the city. It's not really our university, really, because, for us, quite honestly, like, you know, Pratt is a small college. It's not its own ecosystem like some larger universities are. So I think that kind of makes it unique. So that was a long-winded answer.
I was in the chat. Did you mention DX Center?
Oh, that's a really good one too. Yeah, I should totally mention this. So this is sorry, this is a so one thing we have going here, which is super interesting if you're interested in the UX program, is what's called the Pratt DX Center or the Center for Digital Experiences. And what this center does is it goes out into the world and collects client projects for use for our students to work on. And so everything you see on this website is a project that was done by students in the IXT program or other School of Information programs. And so we just do a lot of client projects in this program, like a lot. And it's just very engaged with the various organizations. And some of them are national, some of them are global. But we have just many different kinds of projects. So, for example, we've done accessibility projects, content strategy, product design, usability projects, eye tracking, user interface design. So, just coming out of this program, you're going to have a portfolio that's going to be pretty great, quite honestly, because you've already worked on so many projects. So
Can I
these are,
add a
yeah,
little about, so
go.
just a little bit more color, I guess, about this is that these client projects are baked into the curriculum. So like you will do client projects through the DX Center no matter what. So it's not like you have to compete to work on these projects. Like you can't graduate from the program. It's within foundational classes most times as well. So this is, you're building your portfolio as a piece of taking these classes, and the portfolio is the graduation requirement. So you don't have to do anything extra necessarily to build that portfolio.
Yeah, exactly. They're all real projects. Like these are clients looking for work to get done here. It's not like, oh, let's design, my own website. Like it's really much more like, oh, we're working with the Brooklyn Seltzer Museum to do a virtual tour. That's who knew there was a Brooklyn Seltzer Museum, but there is. And I'm sure the people who made that museum really do care that, what's getting made there. Um, so yeah, I think lots of really good stuff.
I'll also mention one more thing. Anthony already talked about this a little bit, but there's the research side and the design side. You can't have one without the other. A lot of our applicants or students end up coming to our IXE program. A lot of the motivation is for the research side. So there might be a lot of like self-taught UX designers or people who are interested in that, and they might be doing research, but not formally. And so like, how are they making design decisions without knowing which decisions to make? You can't just, so it's that progression from graphic design to like, we're choosing this button here due to these like digital accessibility principles, due to the user studies that we, whatever that is, the eye tracking on the website, all of that stuff. So you can leave here that UX researcher, but also you're a stronger UX designer because you know how to inform your design decisions. So that's something a lot of times that people also don't get in the boot camps, which Anthony mentioned already. A lot of times it's more like on the design side, Figma, using those softwares, but we go beyond that. So like if Figma went away, would you know how to do the same thing that Figma does?
All right, thank you for that, Meredith. So do we have any other questions, either in the room, online, before we go on our nifty little tour? Yes.
I just had a question about the fellowships. Are the Pratt students competing just with other Pratt students, or is it open to other graduate students? And then is that for course credit, or is that outside of courses?
Yeah, good question. So you're just competing against other School of Information students. So sometimes you're only competing against one, two, three other people. I would say the fellowship, some of them you might have seven or eight. Some of the more popular ones, especially some of the UX ones, I think you might have more like seven or eight people. But as I mentioned, I think like some of the children's one is you might be competing with two or three other people. Um, and yeah, so you're just competing with School of Information folks. And the other part of the question was around course credit. Got it. So you can either do the fellowship as a course and get credits for it, 3 credits, or you can just not do that. So so the other option is if you don't do it for course credit, we do ask that you present at our annual showcase of student work, which is called each year it's called Info Show. And so this past year was Info Show 25. And so many of the fellows presented at it. But it's a really great event. With this past year, we had about 350 people attend, and you could see it was in this room here with but people do posters, they do presentations, and just like a huge look at the Seltzer museums. I told you it was a real thing. Um, I knew I saw that Seltzer museum before, but yeah, our faculty moderate sessions. It's a lot of sessions, and yeah, so we have a lot of fellows who will present at this. So for example, let's see here. I'm sure if I type in the word fellowship, I'm going to get something. Yeah, my product design museum fellowship at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, right? So you'll have plenty of people who are presenting their fellowship here. It's a good way to bring what they've learned at the fellowship site back to the school and, to promote what they worked on. So yeah, it's good stuff. Cool. Any other questions? All right, folks. Well, thank you so much for attending. So, if you are online, you can actually still join us. I'm going to bring you with my phone, which is, um, you know, kind of is what it is, but you can definitely see the space. And we have really lovely space here at Pratt. Um, and we'll go ahead and go on a tour. And if you have questions, certainly you can always reach out to me. Just you Google Anthony Cosiello and you see my email there. And yeah, so let's just give me 1 minute to pull up my phone and then we can go on this nifty tour. All right, folks. Good evening. All right. So let me switch. I don't think we need to split. You can also go home, Meredith. You want to do it? Meredith said, so yeah, so just a little bit about the space. I guess we could talk out of here. Yeah, so welcome to Pratt Manhattan Center. So we moved into the space in 2002. So I've been here almost 25 years. And some of the spaces was renovated during COVID. So this space here it looks pretty new, and that's because it was renovated. This building they used to make light textiles here. Like they made underwear here at Macy's, and a lot of the buildings, the garment district was, kind of up 7th Avenue. So, a lot of light manufacturing happened here. But for the last 25 years, it's been us. But yeah, I would say, some things about the school is like, as I mentioned, our classes are small. They're between 11 and 12 people. So a room like this, we only use for like big events where we bring a lot of people together. We do a big party, for example, a graduation party, holiday party, and clear out those chairs. But other than that, our classes are generally pretty small. Space like this, we use like, little space to get some work done in between classes. Um, as I mentioned, our classes are small. So, for example, in here we have I believe, probably a kind of a seminar class. Our kind of our first class people take foundations of information. Folks are kind of sitting around in a circle. It's discussion. It's and you know, I'm thinking it's probably Professor Lauerman, but yeah. So you kind of get a sense of what that looks like. Um, It looks like the show is going up right now, so this is also gets used as an art gallery. So there's a show going up. So Pratt is an art school, so we have lots of art always kind of coming up. Oh yeah, feel free to peek in there. They're gonna be like, who are these people? Yeah, so it's not big lecture halls or anything like that. You get to know your professors, you get to know your classmates really well. Um, and what else can I say? Yeah, I would also say so. What's also below us is there is an art gallery. So we have a show up right now on the influence of W.E.B. Du Bois on a number of really influential artists, such as Carrie Mae Weems and Theaster Gates and a number of different folks. So it closes at 5, but if you're in the neighborhood, it's open through like early December. So feel free to check it out. We're also doing an event in a few weeks, and it will be public if you want to come. It'll be on pratt.edu/events where we're bringing in the this professor who put together this book about W.E.B. Du Bois' data portraits. Like most people don't know him as a data visualizer, but he was like a early 19th century like data visualizer. And she put together the book on it. So, and in fact, some of the artwork, or at least one of the pieces downstairs, was influenced by the Gates piece was influenced by W.E.B. Du Bois, which if you visit, you'll see the connection like right away. It's kind of looks like a bar chart or something, but it's neon. It's kind of cool.
It's like ethics and technology forum.
Yeah, and we do an annual ethics and technology forum. It's an area we've been growing in quite a bit. We do it in there, and we just had this great speaker a few weeks ago, Karen Howe. She wrote this book called The Empire of AI, doing a deep look at the open AI and Sam Altman, and it was a really great talk. But we always, kind of that kind of interests you, like some of the bigger social political stuff. We do get into that, especially in a class like this foundations, some of these kind of big historical kinds of issues. We do have that going on as well. So maybe let's go on head on upstairs. You want to do 4?
So how do you do it? Everyone get an elevator or both?
Yeah, we'll all fit.
I'm the same with elevators. I'm like, how many people can we fit in? If
Yeah.
anyone wants to take the stairs, we're on the 4th floor.
We'll fit, trust me. I've done it. These elevators, they can withstand. I've never heard them beep.
I've had more in my apartment elevators.
You've
Like
had warning
more.
more.
Like it's
Yeah,
like
yeah. Yeah, this by New York standards, this is pretty. All right, folks. So this is a space that was not renovated during COVID. So it's more dates back to the 2002 when we moved in. And there's another department up here, but the reason we take everyone up here is that it's got our library in it. And so it's a kind of a satellite location of the Pratt Institute libraries. And a lot of stuff we buy digitally, but things that we can't get digital, we still buy in print here. So we can go check it out.
you usually go in.
What? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh look, we have a fellow alum here.
Harsh. Now a library manager. Look what you could become.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Partner Community. As Meredith mentioned, my name is Harsh Shikar. I'm one of the managers here. I can give you a picture of this space. So, as Anthony was mentioning earlier, there is a much bigger library space at our Brooklyn campus, and items that are shelved here can easily be shipped here if need be, and there are forms on our library's website, library.pratt.edu. You can simply click on the services function or the tab to learn more about all the services that we have to offer. I guess without further ado, we'll get started with the tour. So what you see around are these meetings from displays that are created by our graduate assistants who are also in the Alliance program. And as you move further into the working space, we have some computer that folks, where folks can to like attention and do their assignments. And so as we move further on my left, we have new arrivals, being that we have reference and oversight on the right, and finally all the collection that we take place with the programs that are offered in this building. That would be NIS, VXUI, construction management, arts culture management, among many others. For the older issues, one can simply look the charts to see the older issues. The most newest or the recent issue would be displayed on the shelf. Some of these periodicals would be founded, and those are shown on the left side. My study space area with a chart and some font side. We also have a small Z collection that would be right here. This is the most recent addition to our collection. And there's a much bigger zine collection at the back of the library. So as we make a U-turn, we have a small DVD collection that can borrow a week, drawing period, 1 week for the work, usually 1 period 6 weeks. With one additional deliverable, as long as there isn't income on that right there. This is where you also have some buttons, some magnets, some county, and many things. Bookmarks, stickers. So if you wish to grab some, you don't know. Small achievement. By the way, I forgot to mention that actually movies problems or uses decimal classification. And in addition to books, we also have portable chargers, iPads, headphone, mouse, a lot of equipment that folks can borrow. At Brooklyn campus, there's a much extensive equipment that folks can borrow, such as cameras, projector, gaming consoles, and much more. As we move further to the right, I would like to mention that we recently got these standard audio system. This can come in handy for our both non-circulating and or circulating collection. Let's say on a given day, you are browsing the current papers and you come across an article that is of interest to you. You can simply scan it, email it to yourself, and same goes for any chapter within a given book. This is and that will be stamped back in there. You can do the reservation either by scanning QR code or on our library's website. There is a page where one can go in and reserve the spot. Those requests would then come to me or my colleague Sana, and then we would approve or deny. The reservations are on further counter services. Room is equipped with whiteboard, projector, speaker, and I usually like to complete the tour by mentioning that there is a direct sight to the Empire State Building, and it's dark outside of us. There is a mural done by great Brazilian artist brothers, Os Genius. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but one can do a quick keyword search on Google to learn more about it at one more. And behind, so there you see an artwork which was done by our former graduate assistant and current student success assessment librarian, Alex Austin, who basically took these card catalogs and sort of like colored it and assembled it in a very nice, colorful manner. That's all. If you have any questions, concerns, please do ask. Again, my name is Shivar. business card would be in the front. If you ever have any question, please do not hesitate to reach out.
Oh, right. Red cards, yeah. Yeah. He's yeah. More classes, yeah. It's mostly the construction management program in the School of Architecture.
Five, I typically skip.
What's that?
2 out of 5.
I usually skip.
Me too.
Yeah.
What's 5?
So it's the IT department, it's a lot of computer labs. And they're really nice rooms, but they're kind of like once you've seen one computer lab, it's Carol, hi.
Hi.
Well, this is an illustrious alum, Carol Choi. What's your job at NYU again, Carol?
I'm the data reference. Oh,
Oh,
okay.
Carol doesn't like that, sorry.
Sorry. I'm the data reference and collections librarian at NYU. And the liaison to the Wagner School of Service.
And you're guest speaking tonight?
I did. I just did. And I'm back tomorrow afternoon.
Nice,
another
nice, nice.
And I was here last week, so.
Yeah,
Maybe
right.
I'll meet you at some point.
Yeah, thank you, Carol. All right, folks. So this is the sixth floor Pratt Manhattan Center, which is, the hub for the school. A lot of our classrooms are here. And this space here we call the Info Lounge, and it's a space to just get a little bit of work done, maybe do some group work, do some computer work, meet with your classmates. And yeah, I would say, what can I tell you about this? So we have a lot of classes going on right now. For example, we have, I believe, over here, you can kind of get the general sense. I actually think this is Anthony Conta's class. He works at Meta, although he's not the one standing at the front of the room right now. And he's working on Facebook, uh, and but it looks like he has a guest speaker tonight. We have more classrooms over here, but you can kind of get a sense the classes are generally pretty small. A lot of them are set up in this kind of way where it's like you can do some lecture, some discussion, some hands-on work. So, yeah, so people are, hi, Brendan.
Hey.
Brendan's almost graduated.
Yeah, we're set.
Yeah, so just as you know, just did my portfolio. So
Yeah, so,
I'm feeling good about
Yeah.
doing that.
and I emailed you about that. So.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm taking, my concentration is archives and, sorry.
Yeah.
My concentration, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
my concentration is archives in my last semester, but I've also taken, I love the digital humanities classes here. I'm taking data librarianship now, which is great. So I think I've kind of gone in as one thing and just developed a different set of interests, which is nice. I appreciate that.
All right, get back to class. All right, so yeah, so we could go, maybe head on down this way.
You talk about the archives too.
Oh, yeah, so, like this room over here is our archives lab. We do a lot of processing of records. We do digitization. We could go in there if there wasn't a class in there, but yeah, lots of equipment, like all kinds of old formats are supported.
Rare
Old
book.
rare book scanner, stuff like that. So I would say all up and down the hallways, you'll see student work. But some of these things, like this thing, this went up today. I have not even looked at it myself. Um, but a lot of the stuff you see on the walls is presented at our annual showcase of student work. Other pieces are for classwork. Others are presented at conferences. So definitely lots of student work all over the place. Um, I would say, Tuesday night, or this is Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday night's pretty busy. Um, we do have some spaces where folks can like book, for example. So this is like a room that was just students can book at any time of the day. Building's open till 1 a.m. during the week. So you'd come in here 11:30 at night, book this room. There's a massage chair in there.
Bought on Black Friday 2 years ago.
Should we might have bought on Black Friday 2 years ago.
Like a big one.
There's a big one. It takes you back, does very good on the feet. But I will not bug that person because we have someone in there.
In the name of wellness, we have like
Well, we have,
light therapy thing. We have our meditation locker.
we have the meditation locker. I always forget about that. We do, students sometimes, we have a lot of students work with faculty on research projects. We have a lot of graduate assistant positions where you could work with a faculty. For example, Jessica Davis worked with Dr. Lobatowska a few years ago on a project like this. I think Jessica presented it at a conference in Texas. So we have this fund called the Graduate Student Engagement Fund where we will fly you out to present at conferences if you're accepted. So lots of good stuff. And yeah, we have, fellowship projects, all kinds of different stuff. Um, a class like this, yeah, we have uh, the former CIO of the Museum of Modern Art, Diana Pan, teaches in here. A lot of techie classes happen in here, like computer programming, stuff like that. It's kind of computer lab.
Just cool. On the certificate, versus taught me. You can take the full set of courses of the course. Because for not so many options, but I will do that.
Yeah. So down this way are a lot of faculty offices, and so every student is assigned a full-time faculty advisor, and you can go in and visit them during office hours, talk about your career goals, your interests, how that intersects with what you want to do and the curriculum. So yeah, a lot of them have offices back over here, and yeah, many of them are in class right now, so it's very good. So more faculty offices here, back here. This is kind of an interesting poster. We made this during new student orientation in the fall. And this is just, I asked everyone to pin where they're from. And you could see in terms of our students in the fall, a lot of people from North America, East Coast, West Coast. But then you also have quite a number of people from, China, India, some Europe, a little bit of Africa, a little bit of South America. So yeah, so it's really, you're getting, your fellow classmates are kind of from, a lot from here, but also a lot from elsewhere. So it creates a pretty interesting environment. And here it looks like we have a busy group of UX students working on, this is a room you can book to do research studies and eye tracking studies, mobile UX studies. And it looks like it's being used right now. It's a pretty busy time of the year, quite honestly. Back over here, you could see we have faculty publications. As I mentioned, our full-time faculty are scholars and researchers. You can see some of the stuff they've been working on. You can see books they've written, and we also over here we have 5 student chapters of national organizations. These are student clubs. And what they do is student groups get together and they organize events and they do stuff. They're funded through Pratt to do these events. And it's just a great way for students to get together and do stuff together that might not be happening in the classroom that they want to get done. So for example, we have like, the museum, emerging museums group is doing a tour of the Jewish Museum. We have the ALA student chapter, the American Library Association student chapter doing a tour of the Lesbian History Archives. We have workshops happening outside of class. We have a tour of the Cornell Medical Center archives. We have different workshops, like alums coming back to speak. For the IXD program, there's a tour of the Google offices over on 8th Avenue. So lots of just like these are really student-run kinds of events that just kind of keep allow the students to get together and do stuff that they want to do. And we have a really good collection of stuff going on this year with the really great student clubs. Hey, Vicky.
There's some of our special topics courses, so that's good.
Yeah. So we do really have a class on UX for AI. Proof. Yeah, this is our admin office where it's newsletter, good stuff like that.
These are the full-time faculty account, so one of the professors here would be your full-time faculty advisor. And then we have like something like 70 part-time come to teach those really advanced specialized electives in the evenings. How many advisees does he have? Question.
On average, they have 31. I just calculated that.
Some, yeah, some, that surprised me. I feel like some have, it feels smaller than that.
Well, some have more, some have less, but it works out to 31. Yeah, and we have we're hiring 2 new full-time faculty. We just hired a new one. Jessie Mae Mamone, she's a PhD student at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. She's starting in the fall. And then we're doing a search right now for someone to specialize in what we're calling creative and critical computing. And if that's all successful, that person will also start in the fall. So yeah, they should be there next year.
Students have a staff advisor. So for IXD and LIS, that's me. So it's not just faculty. It's like degree support. What course do I need in order to qualify for this fellowship? How should I register for my internship class? What, just all of those logistics, understanding the degree, all of that stuff. So, and also just register with me again too. So it's not just like 31 people, everyone needs to talk to Irene. There's lots of resources.
Yep. Cool. So let's see what else. Okay, so last floor.
This is where we're hold our harvest feeds.
Yes, we're having it. We're throwing a feast here in a few weeks. So
Final floor.
final floor. Oh, thank you. All right, folks, this is our final floor. And this was another space that was renovated during COVID, so it looks pretty new, and that's because it is pretty new. And we call this the Pratt Manhattan Student Union, and it's just a place for students to get a little bit of work done, meet up with friends. There's some food that you can get in there. There's like coffee and a farmer's fridge, which has fresh food, some prepackaged food, soda, all that good stuff, a fridge, a microwave. Um, but also what's on this floor is there's classrooms up along here and back there, but there's also student services offices. So these are like any kind of office that's like not a professor, you can kind of access up here. So it's like if you need to access health, counseling, financial services, you can pretty much go up here and access it. And career services. So it's pretty much anything that's not a faculty is, or School of Information, you can kind of access it over here. Um, but yeah, do that. I never do that. All right, we could walk.
My cars, we love.
We walk.
There's some nice like private study spaces that you can rent out, walk down. They're also student fair, like all these offices. So they really live in Brooklyn, which you have access to as a student here. But they make sure to get here 2 or 3 times a week for the Manhattan students. So you don't have to go there, but you can also make an appointment to visit them. That's right.
Yeah, so this is kind of meant to be a little bit of a student-centric space, a place to like let off some steam. That's why there's, the games and stuff. But yeah, that is pretty much our tour. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off to the folks on Zoom. Thank you for staying with us. And if you have any, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or Meredith, Anthony Cosciola or Meredith Broll, or on the Pratt webpage. And our emails are there, and we're happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you, Rebecca.